Today is mine and my wife's 39th wedding anniversary. But I want to take you back about 2 years ago. For a week or so, I'd been quite ill, and it was during the time of the pandemic, so I was doing my COVID tests, and they were coming up negative, and then they started coming up positive, and it became necessary for me to call an ambulance because I'd become, quite ill at that point. And much later on, I was told by the nursing profession that they wasn't actually expecting me to last the night. I had COVID and other complications, and I was taken into hospital. I was put on a breathing machine, a machine that was helping me breathe. I don't know exactly what the machine was called, but I do know that I was seriously ill. And I'd been in there, I don't know, something like 10 days, and I wasn't really getting any better. They kept talking about intubating me, which, as I understand, is they put you in a induced coma, so as they can treat you better. But I was resisting that. I didn't want that, and but as I say, I wasn't getting any better. And on the Sunday, I listened into my local church. They were live streaming the service, so I had my phone in hospital with me, and I listened into that. And then I listened into a friend's service in America, and in the afternoon. And what the minister ministered on, I wouldn't say was anything new, because I believe it's something that I've preached on myself in the past, but it was reminding me of the promises of God, reminding me that He's still the same yesterday, today and forever, and that God has a plan and a purpose for our lives, and that His plan for us is for good, and reminding me that He is still the healer. And I was greatly encouraged by what I heard. And the next morning, I woke up, and my nurse, he came round, and always of a cheerful disposition, and he looked at my oxygen levels and says, "Cliff," he said, "we can turn that down a little." And he went off, and as he went off, he was humming a hymn. "This is my story, this is my song, praising my Saviour all the day long." And that just thrilled me, that my nurse knew my Jesus. And over a period of time, he kept coming back, and yes, I can turn that down some more, Cliff. I can turn that down some more. And in a period of about an hour and a half, I was completely off of the oxygen. For a little while, a flimsy mask was put on my face with just air. And after a little while, he said to me, he says, "Cliff," he says, "you're breathing on your own." He says, "You do not need these masks anymore." Well, about an hour or so later, the consultant came round, and as he walked in the ward, he says, he says, "What has happened?" He says, "It's like a miracle has happened in this ward." Because not only had my situation improved, but two others on the ward, their situation had improved as well, dramatically. And I really believe that the angel of the Lord walked through that ward that night, touching each and every one of us, and ministering healing to us. And he said, "Well, Cliff," he said, this consultant, he said, "Well, Cliff," he says, "the rate you're going," he says, "providing," he said, "there's no setbacks," he says, "you can go home tonight, or later this afternoon." Now, this is from one day being assisted to breathe to the next day saying that I could be released from hospital. Part of the message the day before was that sometimes God says wait. And later in that afternoon, I had a few breathing issues, and they said, well, we can't send you home quite like that. And they said, you'll have to stay in for another night. And I said, well, that's okay. I says, yeah, that's fine. And what was in my mind was, Lord, you know best. You know what's best for me. And I believe that, that for some reason you want me to stay in another night. And later that evening, they asked if I would mind being moved to a side ward because they needed my bed for someone else, so as they could monitor them more closely. And I was quite happy with that because trying to sleep in that ward, it was very noisy, but it was necessary. And so I slept in this side ward, a nice peaceful night. And the next morning, a nurse came in to me. She says, "Oh, Cliff," she said, "I walked into that ward this morning. Excuse me. I walked into that ward this morning, and when I saw you wasn't there," she said, "I feared the worst." And I said, "Where's Cliff?" And they said, "Oh, don't worry, he's been moved into a side ward." She says, "Oh, that's good." She says, "I'm going to go and do his observations." And when she came into that ward, that side room, she says to me, "Cliff," she says, "I'm so pleased to see you," she said, and told me what had happened. And she's the lady that was in the bed beside you, she said, she's not doing so well this morning. And she also said about the guy that was opposite me was not doing so good either. And I tried talking to this lady a few times about the Lord, and she didn't really seem to want to know. But I really believe that morning she came into that side room to ask me to pray for those that were having difficulty in the main ward that morning. During that time in that ward, I had many opportunities to share my faith and to tell of the goodness of God. And the nurses thanked me for my the way I was so upbeat. But it was all because of Jesus. I knew Jesus was beside me. I knew he was with me. And I just want to thank the Lord that he's brought me through. And I don't know what that beeping is, but technology, and as I said on a previous video, I'm not really that technical, but I trust that my testimony that I'm sharing with you here today has encouraged your faith to believe that Jesus is the same yesterday, today and forever, and whatever you're going through, he is still the healer. God bless you.